Scarlet Nexus is Bandai Namco's latest new IP in the JRPG genre. I was pretty excited for this game when it was first revealed. The setting seemed cool, the combat seemed fun, and it looked like it could be a strong start to a great new series. Plus, I like Bandai Namco's Tales series, so I figured this game would be pretty enjoyable as well. So now that I've played Scarlet Nexus, how is it? Let's find out. But first, please subscribe and click the bell to get updates whenever I publish new content. I'll also have other playlists and videos for you annotated at the end. Now let's get started. This review is based on a physical, retail copy of the game for the PlayStation 5.
Amazing! You volunteered and got into the OSF, just like you always dreamed.
Scarlet Nexus takes place in a world plagued by creatures known as Others, who come from the extinction belt to eat human brains. The story follows Yuito Sumeragi and Kasane Randall, two volunteer members of the military's Other Suppression Force, or OSF. OSF members each have unique brain powers, and you use your high-tech magic brain for everything from communications to cooperative combat interfacing. Neither Yuito nor Kasane's individual route is very long by JRPG standards, and their paths intersect a number of times over the events of the game. But to get the full story, you'll have to go through both routes. I know it sounds like a bit much, but in all honesty, the story is your standard sci-fi anime affair, and it's fine. I don't think it'll set the world on fire or anything, but if you like sci-fi anime, you'll probably like the story in Scarlet Nexus. On a related note, Scarlet Nexus actually has an anime adaptation, so maybe check that out if you're interested. That being said, about halfway through the game, I realized that Scarlet Nexus was not going to be able to answer all the questions it had posed along the way. There were too many mysteries left unsolved, too many loose ends that I knew wouldn't be tied up. The ending does leave things open for a potential sequel to unravel these extrinsic threads, but I personally would have preferred a tighter-knit story within this specific entry. Moreover, my main issue with the game's narrative is the way that it's told. You have some cutscenes that are actually animated, but far more of the story is told in these graphic novel-style series of still images. It's not the first game to do it this way, but the static images feel especially odd in Scarlet Nexus when adjacent to the fully animated cutscenes sprinkled throughout the story. I understand why extraneous cutscenes may be shown in this manner. Bandai Namco's own Tales series does this with skits, but the main questline really should be fully animated. I don't know if the developers were trying to avoid some kind of conflict with the anime tie-in, or maybe it was a budget issue, but I found the story to be a lot less engaging when told in this manner. And again, it's just really weird when it goes from rapidly cross-fading images to actually animated cutscene. And this thing that's happening is pretty cool. It'd be even cooler if it was like video format instead of Microsoft PowerPoint. Ah, there it goes. Awesome. I'm being facetious, of course. I still enjoyed the story when all was said and done, though it's definitely the weakest aspect of the entire game. I just think I would have liked it more had there been more actual animation. Visually, the game looks fantastic. Scarlet Nexus runs on Unreal 4, and the graphical style is very similar to Code Vein. Just running around these environments at a native 4K 60 is fantastic, and as far as I can tell, it's a lock-solid 4K 60 through and through. At most, it maybe drops 1 or 2 frames every now and then instantly corrects itself. And the resolution works wonders with the art style. I found myself just looking at stuff constantly, exploring every nook and cranny possible, and drinking in that modern futuristic design. There is some noticeable pop-in related to the game's draw distance, but this shouldn't be too bothersome. Reflections also look really nice, though they're not the best I've seen. One thing I was a little disappointed by was the lighting. Scarlet Nexus has some basic shadows and practical light effects, but there's almost no local illumination. Most notably, the signage throughout the environment doesn't affect the lighting on the character. It's minor, but I wonder just how much better the game could look with better lighting effects. For what it's worth, Scarlet Nexus offers up a narrative excuse that I thought was pretty clever. All the banners are actually holograms displayed via the individual's brain interface, which means the signs don't actually exist in 3D space and thus do not cast real light. I would have preferred better lighting, but at least they offered up some kind of explanation. And again, I don't think it's that noticeable, if at all, during regular gameplay. The environments are still gorgeous, the performance is still great, the particle effects are brilliant, and I just generally love the aesthetic. The voice acting is good. Much like the story, I don't think it's going to wow anybody, but it does its job and it's good in both English and Japanese. Check it out.
What's up? You don't sound very excited.
No, I'm happy too. Didn't I tell you? I was saved by an OSF soldier when I was a kid, so I wanted to be one as well. But
But what?
lately, I've been wondering if that's it, the end of my goal. I'm here today because someone saved me. So, I'm wondering if there is a better way to save more people's lives.
なんだよユイト、反応薄くね？
いや、俺だって嬉しいよ。言っただろ。子供の頃、海抜軍の人に命を助けられたって。だから俺もその人みたいになりたいって思ったんだし。でもなんだよ。最近思うことがあるんだ。本当にそれだけでいいのかなって。せっかく助けてもらった命なんだから役に立ちたいし、もっと大勢の人を救う方法があるんじゃないかってさ。
And I think the music is great. I love that electronic sound, and it gives a really modern feeling to the whole affair, no matter what you may be doing at any given point. So yeah, the audio is very good. I think the voice acting accomplishes what it sets out to do, and Scarlet Nexus is definitely better for having its soundtrack. Arguably, the game's strongest aspect is its combat. Scarlet Nexus is an action-JRPG with plenty of frenetic battles. You have your basic and charge attacks, which are chained together to fill up the psychokinesis or PK gauge. PK is used for brain powers, R2 uses basic skills for combos, and L2 initiates special object attacks. These special PK skills consume more of the PK gauge, but deal greater damage so long as you complete the requisite QuickTime event. And with smart enough combos, certain enemies can even be staggered. Upon depleting a foe's stagger meter, a Brain Crush can be activated, which deals massive damage to the target. Brain Crush kills weaker enemies outright and deals significant damage to bosses. There are also two enhanced modes, Brain Drive and Brain Field. Brain Drive automatically triggers once the related gauge is filled. During Brain Drive, the player has increased movement speed, higher damage output, lower PK consumption, and better experience yield. Brain Field is the super enhanced mode. By pressing L3 plus R3, you'll enter a time-limited subdomain that greatly enhances your stats and abilities while also negating your opponent's special powers. However, you'll die if you leave the Brain Field active for too long, so keep an eye on the timer. There's also the Struggle Assist system, or SAS, which adds social mechanics to the core combat. Think of SAS as Scarlet Nexus' version of social links from Trails of Cold Steel, support ranks from Fire Emblem, or Persona 5's Confidants. Each new bond level grants you new combat bonuses, and you increase your bond levels by giving gifts and viewing bonding events. Bonding events can also be more than just cutscenes, as some take you on side quests, which is pretty neat. I think the social mechanics here are good, if only somewhat basic. It does what it sets out to do, and there's not much more to it than what I've explained. One potential letdown for many players is that there's no overt romance options in Scarlet Nexus. But the far bigger letdown is that these bonding scenes are shown using the same static panels that I mentioned previously. I wish they would have made these actually moving cutscenes, even if there's no significant movement happening in them. These social mechanics are fine and supplement the core combat well, but to call it anything more than that would be pushing it. Honestly, the battle mechanics are the real star of the show, and they're pretty intricate. Scarlet Nexus does a great job of walking you through the evolution of combat, letting you master one or two functions each phase until you're eventually an efficient fighting machine. It has its pitfalls, the camera can be difficult, and the combos don't ever feel as fluid as the better works of Platinum Games. But the battles are still really engaging, and I greatly enjoyed finding all the different ins and outs of taking down the game's more difficult enemies. If you're looking for an anime game equivalent to a bag of chips, Scarlet Nexus is a great choice. While the story and presentation style may leave something to be desired, it's more than made up for by the fantastic combat, great music, and gorgeous aesthetic. I don't necessarily know if it has staying power, but like a bag of Doritos, it satisfies well enough in the here and now. I wouldn't put it alongside the action-JRPG genre's all-time greats, but Scarlet Nexus is still a strong, respectable, and enjoyable game, and I hope it sells well enough to get a sequel. Scarlet Nexus on PlayStation 5 earns a 7 out of 10. Be sure to subscribe, click the bell, and check out the videos on screen. Thanks!